Adjust the vents so they're wide open. You want to roast the bird at about 350 to 375 degrees. Cooking time for a chicken this size, 1 hour and 15 minutes. Meanwhile, let me show you how to make the red wine barbecue sauce. The first thing I did is melt the butter. Now add finely chopped bacon and finely chopped shallots, finely chopped garlic, and shiitake or your favorite mushrooms. Cook these ingredients until fragrant and golden brown. Takes about 2 to 3 minutes. Next, add a couple of tablespoons of honey and brown sugar. So that'll add a touch of sweetness. Then liquid smoke, which is a perfectly natural ingredient, salt and freshly ground black pepper. Then ketchup or tomato sauce if you'd like a wine sauce that's a little less sweet. Finally, red wine like Cabernet Sauvignon or Merlot. Simmer the sauce until thick and syrupy, stirring from time to time. It's been about 45 minutes and you want to check on your chicken. It looks absolutely gorgeous. And if it starts to brown too much at the top, remember heat rises. You can just cover it with what I call an aluminum foil pashmina. And we'll continue cooking the chicken another 20 to 30 minutes. It's been an hour and a quarter. And our wine can chicken looks perfect. But you always want to check with an instant read meat thermometer. Insert it into the deepest part of the thigh, not touching the bone. You're looking for 165 degrees. Okay, so all we need to do is lift the beer can chicken when it's racked off that drip pan, and you can serve it right on the platter. Let's see how we did. I'll just carve it right off the can. And look how juicy that bird is. That's thanks to the wine can. Let's take a spoonful of our red wine barbecue sauce. That is so fantastic. The wine and smoke absolutely perfume the chicken, and you get these sweet floral little bursts of lavender. So there you have it, beer can chicken with a college education. Every step of the wine-making process actually enters into the local grilling. For example, you might marinate meats in wine. You might stoke your fire with grapevine trimmings. When you go to serve a great steak, nothing can beat a great red wine. The idea of this dish was to really pump up the flavor by using a red wine and juniper marinade. Red wine gives beef an incredible depth of flavor, especially when you use a mild, lean cut like luxurious filet mignon. First, the good news about filet mignon. It's the absolute tenderest steak that comes from the steer. The not so good news is that it's extremely lean, so you need to find a way to put some fat in it to keep it from drying out on the grill. Well, the first technique is to wrap the filet mignon in bacon. You want to use a good, thick smokehouse-style bacon. Then tie the bacon in place with a piece of butcher string. You come over once, you come over twice, pull tightly, and snip it with a pair of kitchen shears. Okay, step number 2, make the marinade. The marinade starts with what the French would call a mirepoix. That's equal parts finely chopped onion or shallot, celery, and carrot. Then add a couple of bay leaves, a couple of sprigs of thyme, 2 cloves of smashed garlic, and a handful of juniper berries. Juniper berries have a wonderful piney flavor that may be familiar to you. Juniper is the active flavoring in gin. In fact, gin is named for juniper. Now all you need to do to finish the marinade is add about a half a bottle of dry red wine. I'm using Cabernet Sauvignon. And a generous splash of olive oil. Mix the ingredients with a wooden spoon and pour them over the beef. Marinate the steaks in the refrigerator for at least 2 hours or as long as overnight. The longer you marinate, the richer the wine flavor. With our grilled filet mignons, I thought I'd serve an onion mixed grill. 3 kinds of onions: fresh green onions, cipollini onions, and what I call onion lollipops. These are thick slices of white onion on bamboo skewers. What you want to do is generously brush the onions with extra virgin olive oil, and you don't want to stint on the quality of the oil. Then season the onions generously with coarse sea salt and freshly ground black pepper. Again, coarse sea salt and freshly ground black pepper. And while we're at it, back to the steaks. I've drained off the marinade and blotted the steaks dry. Brush the steaks on both sides with extra virgin olive oil and season with coarse salt and freshly ground black pepper. What this does is it helps give you a savory crust during grilling. And be sure to brush and season the other side as well. I've set up the grill for direct grilling, preheated it to screaming hot, and as always, we want to clean the grill grate with a stiff wire brush, then oil the grate either with a folded paper towel or a cotton oiling cloth, dipped in vegetable oil, and drawn across the bars of the grate. Let me put on the steaks. Steaks this thick will take about 6 minutes per side to cook. And now I'll put on the onions. And the cipollini are on a metal skewer so they can go in the back. This is an aluminum foil grill shield made by folding over a piece of heavy-duty aluminum foil. Just want to lay it on front. Then lay your onion lollipops on the foil. And the shield keeps the wood from burning. Likewise with these green onions, you can start the onions with the green part on the foil. That way the bulbs will cook, and then at the last minute you'll take the foil away and you can cook the greens. Cooking time for the onions about 3 to 4 minutes per side, and I'll close the grill lid to keep the heat in. That'll speed up the cooking for the filet mignons. After 2 minutes, give each steak a quarter turn. That will lay on the handsome crosshatch of grill marks and push the meat into the grill. It's almost a process like branding. Turn your onions. You're looking for a golden brown color on both sides. Close the grill and we'll continue grilling the steaks. And once the steaks are seared on one side, turn each over and sear the other side. Man, do these look great. When the onion lollipops are cooked, just pull them on the foil. That will keep them warm without burning. You can see the cipollini onions are grilled beautifully. So I'll pull them on the foil grilling shield. Ditto with our green onions. What you want to do is just keep rotating the filet mignons so you brown the bacon on all sides. Okay, so once you brown the bacon, let me just show you how to test for doneness. It's our old friend, the poke test. You poke the meat. If it's gently yielding, the meat is medium rare. Then take off the onions. And here are the filet mignons and grilled onions. I don't know about you, but this makes me really hungry. So then simply place the filet mignons on your platter. You always want to anoint beef with some sort of fat, either extra virgin olive oil, or in this case, you can rub the tops of the filet mignon with a pat of butter. So here are your red wine marinated filet mignons with your onion mixed grill. Let's see how we did. Filet mignon, an onion lollipop, and this is an onion marmalade. The recipe will be on our website. Check it out, it's cooked perfectly. The wine and juniper give the beef a whole new dimension. Wine has been part of the barbecue tradition for thousands of years. Next time, make it part of yours when you fire up the grill. So there you have it. Trout grilled in grape leaves, red wine chicken with Cabernet barbecue sauce, wine marinated filet mignon. See you next time. With extra virgin olive oil, Reichland's real and wrapped and grilled in All right, this time's a charm. Very nice. Very, very nice. From the beautiful Esplendor Resort in southern Arizona, it's Baba Ganoush, eggplant grilled in the embers for the ultimate taste of smoke and fire. Lomo al trapo. Grilling doesn't get much more primal than this. Shortbread s'mores with Mexican chocolate. Brings out the kid in all of us. Hot stuff coming through. It's in the fire. I'm Stephen Reichland, and from the Esplendor Resort in southern Arizona, it's time to grill. A 500,000 years ago, the world witnessed a revolution. Man became the first animal to cook. That first barbecue, meat roasted in a fire, eventually gave rise to language, technology, even art. You could almost say that barbecue begat civilization. Today's show takes us back to that first primal grill. Sorry, folks, no propane allowed. It's easy to forget in this day of designer kitchens and microwave ovens that for most of human history, most cooking was done directly in a fire. Case in point, Baba Ganoush, where the eggplants were actually laid right in the embers. Now, this accomplished two things. First of all, the surface charring of the skin gave the eggplant this incredible smoky flavor. And it also tenderized the eggplant. If you eat raw eggplant, it has a kind of an astringent quality. But when you roast it, it becomes creamy, almost like butter. Normally in my classes and lectures, I try to teach people how not to burn their food. Not so in this dish, a classic Middle Eastern dip called Baba Ganoush. The secret is to burn the eggplant. Now, first step is to cut a series of slits in the eggplant. You can just twist the knife a little bit. You'll see why in a minute. And then in each slit, insert a sliver of garlic. By the way, this garlic studding technique is not traditionally practiced in the Middle East. I first saw it in Trinidad and Tobago. So that's step number one. Step number two, the charcoal and the chimney. Now, my preferred way of lighting charcoal is to use a chimney starter. You place a piece of crumpled newspaper or a paraffin fire starter in the bottom, fill the top with charcoal. This is lumped charcoal. You can see it actually began as wood. And charcoal was one of the first major technological advances. It dates back about 250,000 years. The way you make charcoal is you set the wood on fire and then deprive it of oxygen. This is commonly done in a kiln or sometimes in caves, sometimes by burying the lit wood. What does that accomplish? Well, first of all, you evaporate all the water, you get rid of a lot of the smoke-producing compounds, and it makes charcoal much lighter and easier to combust. Okay, so once the chimney starter's lit, and by the way, please not on a wooden table, you light it in the grill. All you need to do is dump out the chimney, rake the coals into a single layer, grab the eggplants. You want to lay the eggplants directly on the coals. And the idea is you roast the eggplants in the skin. What's going to happen is the skin will burn and it will impart an incredible smoke flavor to the eggplant flesh. Cooking time here is about 20 minutes in all. It's not something you can rush. Just want to turn the eggplants and char them in the skins. Well, the origin of the word barbecue, it comes from a Taino Indian word, barbacoa. The year was 1516. The place was the island of Hispaniola, today what's known as the Dominican Republic and Haiti. And a Spanish explorer named Gonzalo Fernando Oviedo y Valdez arrived, found a group of Taino Indians working over what looked like it was 4 posts with sticks stretched across the top. He asked, "What is that?" They thought he was referring to the particular grill, and they said barbacoa, and that became the word barbecue. How do you know when the eggplants are cooked? Well, you can just stab them with a carving fork or a skewer. The flesh is easy to pierce. So just take the eggplants out, and you want to kind of give them a tap to knock off any live embers. And what you want to do is just let the eggplants cool for a few minutes. And then with a paring knife, just peel off the burnt skin. You know, in the Middle East, you'll see people do this in their apartments, and they'll actually put the eggplant right on the burner on their stove without a pot. If you're married to someone who has a tendency to burn things on the grill, you know who I'm talking about. This is a great dish for them to make. Just cut the eggplants into large chunks and then transfer the flesh to a food processor. Now add the flavorings. First, tahini, which is a Middle East sesame paste. You can buy it in almost any grocery store. Then extra virgin olive oil, freshly squeezed lemon juice, chopped fresh parsley, salt, and of course, freshly ground black pepper. Place the top on the processor and run the machine in short bursts. And as always, you want to taste the baba ganoush. It's good, but we need a little bit more salt. Remember, a grill master's most important tools are his taste buds. Eggplant is one of the world's most popular vegetables to grill. You find it in South America, you find it in the Middle East, where it's used to make a dip called baba ganoush. You even find it in Japan. The reason is simple. Eggplant has a very spongy consistency, so it absorbs the fire and smoke flavors like a sponge. Now I want to show you how to make some grilled pita bread to serve with the baba ganoush. So in the pita bread, I've just cut some pita bread in half. Brush each with extra virgin olive oil. And of course, olive oil has been used in the Middle East almost as long as human history. Then sprinkle each brushed half with sesame seeds, another ingredient that dates back to biblical times. Okay, now for the grill, put the grill grate back on the grill, oil it with a folded paper towel or a rolled oiling cloth dipped in oil and drawn across the bars of the grate. Now take the pita breads and lay them on the grill. Cooking time is really quick, just a minute or two per side. Remember, the grill was the original toaster. And if the grill's hotter in the center, just simply rotate the pieces of pita bread so they cook evenly. And I want you to notice something else. I have coals on 2/3 of my grill, no coals in the front. This is my cool zone or safety zone. So once the pita breads are done, I can pull them off to the side without them burning. Here's your grilled pita bread and the baba ganoush, and just to finish it up, you can sprinkle it with a little hot paprika. This is amazing. The toasty pita bread, the smoky eggplant dip. And the best part of all, you don't even need a knife and fork. From the moment I heard about lomo al trapo, beef tenderloin roasted in a cloth in the embers, I had to experience it. In fact, I made a special trip to Colombia just to try it. It's a spectacular way to cook beef. It looks really cool. Great dish for entertaining. It's utterly unique. What really turns me on is finding a dish that comes from one place that you can find nowhere else on the planet. My travels around the world's barbecue trail have shown me some pretty amazing dishes, but none tops a Colombian showstopper called lomo al trapo. To make it, you need beef tenderloin and lots of salt, and one of these, a trapo, a clean cotton dishcloth. Watch carefully, it goes quickly. This is a lomo, beef tenderloin. Actually, it's a center cut from the tenderloin, weighs about 2 pounds. So the first step is to take salt, lots of salt, a couple of pounds, and you want to spread the salt out in a layer about 1/4 inch thick. Just spread it into an even layer. Next, sprinkle the salt with some dried oregano. Place the beef tenderloin in the center of the cloth. Then fold over one corner and the second corner to completely encase the beef. Fold the cloth over and start rolling up the beef tenderloin to encase it in cloth and salt. Okay. Now tie the lomo with butcher's string, and I'll show you a butcher's knot. Loop it over once, as though you were tying your shoe. Then point your fingers towards you, loop over the far string over your finger, bring it around, and tuck the end through. That creates a sort of slip knot so you can tie this tightly. And snip the ends off the string. Then tie off the far end the same way. Once again, loop through, and pointing your fingers to you, loop the distant string over the closest finger, loop around, tuck the string through, and pull it tight. This gives you a slip knot that you can pull to tighten securely. Now I'm going to finish tying it up. To cook the lomo, there's no cleaning or oiling the grill grate. Simply pick up the package and lay it right on the embers. Cooking time, 9 minutes on one side, 8 minutes on the other. Now here's a popular side dish that Latin Americans roast in the embers. They're called camotes. We note them as sweet potatoes. So simply take your camotes and lay them on the embers too. So the total cooking time for the sweet potatoes is about 45 minutes to an hour. You want to give your sweet potatoes a quarter turn about every 10 minutes. And because these will take longer to cook than the beef, I actually cooked a few potatoes earlier. And to test for doneness, what you do is insert a metal skewer. It should pierce the flesh easily. And whenever you're grilling foods in the embers and you want to transfer them for serving, always knock off any loose ash or embers and place the potatoes on a metal baking sheet because they will be quite hot. Here are our ember roasted sweet potatoes. I'll let them cool for a few moments. It's been 9 minutes. Turn your lomo al trapo over. Cooking time on this side is 8 minutes. Man has been grilling for about 500,000 years. That is, we know that about 500,000 years ago, Homo erectus used fire to roast and crack open marrow bones, extract the marrow. Why was this important? Well, the prehistoric diet, much like a hunter and gatherer diet, was very rich in protein, but very poor in fat. Fat contains a lot of important nutrients and vitamins. So if you could crack open marrow bones, extract the marrow, it was a nutritional home run. It's been 8 minutes on this side, 17 minutes in all. We'll take off the lomo al trapo, put it on a metal baking sheet, and we'll let it rest for a couple minutes. Now, let me show you how to finish the potatoes. This is a garlic cilantro cumin butter. The recipe is on our website, and we'll just spread a little on top of each ember roasted sweet potato. And don't worry about removing every last little piece of ash. That's part of the charm of this dish. In keeping with our Stone Age theme here, this is a slab of slate. And the last one is for me to taste in a minute. So what you want to do is kind of crack this cloth and salt crust off the tenderloin, and then brush the excess salt off the meat. Using a carving fork, slice your lomo. Look at that. Looks like we nailed it. There's a restaurant outside Bogota called Andres Carne de Res, and it started as a little six-seater with a guy at a grill. It's grown to this point to the size of a city block. On a typical weekend, they'll serve 2,000 to 3,000 people. Despite the size, they pay meticulous attention to the grilling. They have one station dedicated only to making lomo al trapo. The grill masters have clocks where they can time each one. It's 9 minutes on one side, 8 minutes on the other. You crack it open, and you get this unbelievably succulent flavor, smoky piece of beef tenderloin. Slide your carving knife under the beef and transfer it to your serving platter. And I'll take this piece to sample. Now, traditionally, lomo al trapo is served all by itself. But if you want a sauce, this is called ají, and it's a Colombian hot chili sauce. You would never dream that something so simple could have such a complex flavor. So there you have it, lomo al trapo. Grilling doesn't get much more primal than this. Well, the s'more is a classic of American campfire cooking. You've probably had it if you were a Boy Scout or a Girl Scout or you go camping. So what I wanted to do was sort of take it uptown. And first of all, I stuff the marshmallow with a sliver of chocolate so it too gets melted and flavored by the fire. And then instead of sandwiching it between dry graham crackers, I sandwich it between chocolate chip cookies. Up till now, our live fire dishes have been somewhat esoteric, but there's one I bet you've had already. It's a dessert, and you used to make it by toasting marshmallows and sandwiching them between chocolate and graham crackers. It melted into a gooey mess, and it was so good, yes, you asked for some more. Well, here's the uptown version, how we make it at Primal Grill. First, the chocolate. Instead of an inexpensive candy bar, I'm using Mexican chocolate, which is crunchy with granulated sugar and scented with ground cinnamon. Next, the marshmallow. Take a marshmallow and poke a starter hole through it using a flat metal skewer. Now, insert a sliver of chocolate directly through the marshmallow. Let me show you another one. Again, take the marshmallow, make a starter hole with a flat metal skewer, and insert a sliver of chocolate. And now for the fun part. Next, slide the chocolate-stuffed marshmallows onto a stick or a marshmallow fork. And finally, if you're working on a raging hot fire like this one, extend your marshmallow fork to its full length. Now, all you need to do is place the marshmallow over the fire. There are two schools of thought on this one. Some people like to cook the marshmallows just until they're golden brown. Other people like to set them on fire. You can guess what school I belong to. Now, that's the prudent stage. And here's how you do it if you're a fire-obsessed guy like I am. In many cultures, the barbecue grill is the focal point of family and social life. In fact, our word focus comes from the ancient Latin word focus, which was a raised hearth that was found in every ancient Roman home. The final step is to slide the toasted marshmallows and melted chocolate between 2 homemade chocolate chip cookies. Man, does this take me back. It's been 500,000 years since our ancestors first discovered cooking over live fire. And yet, it seems like it was just yesterday. So there you have it, baba ganoush, lomo al trapo, and shortbread s'mores. See you next time. Hot stuff coming through. We're in the fire. It's in the fire, right? 500,000 years ago, sorry. Up till now, most of our live fire dishes, sorry.
Okay, here we go. Okay, let's go one more time. That was...
My travels, my... Whole hog on the rotisserie, spit roasted with Greek island herbs. Brazilian style rib roast, stuffed with sausage and cheese and spit roasted to a turn. Moroccan lamb ribs, the Berber spice paste explodes with flavor. It's meat cooked to a turn. I'm Stephen Reichlin, and from the beautiful Esplendor Resort in southern Arizona, it's time to grill. Today, I have a special surprise for you. I'm gonna take you behind the scenes here at Primo Grill and show you the big kahuna, the dish that separates the men from the boys, the masters from the novices. I'm talking about a whole spit-roasted hog. I first experienced this particular spit-roasted hog on the island of Kea in Greece. The flavorings were utterly simple: salt, pepper, and oregano, squeeze of lemon juice, a little bit of olive oil. When the pitmaster sunk his cleaver into the finished hog, it crackled audibly. That's how crisp the skin was. To help me with the pig, my friend Jeff Klock. Jeff runs the behind-the-scenes kitchen here at Primo Grill and is also the food and beverage director at the Esplendor Hotel where we're filming. Well, Jeff, tell me about our pig.
We've got a 50-pound hog here.
And where did you get it?
From our local butcher shop.
Okay, pre-ordered ahead of time?
Pre-ordered it the day before.
And you got it.
Got
Bingo.
it this morning.
Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the rub. It's a typical Greek rub. Starts with salt, equal parts freshly ground pepper, and dried oregano. And I'll mix these ingredients with my fingers. This is the basic rub you find everywhere in Greece. Okay, so I'm gonna suit up too. Jeff, how many days did it take you to get ready for the Primo Grill shoot here?
About a month.
And how many people do we have on the set working on this?
Roughly 25.
25 people, my God. Okay.
Some are coming and going.
Okay, turn the hog over. So the first step is we're gonna season the inside cavity with about half of the rub. So I'll just sort of toss it in here. Okay, put a little bit of rub in the front cavity. I'll get the spit. So what we're gonna do, Jeff, you'll help me out here. We'll insert the spit, okay, and then run it out the other end. The next step, using butcher's twine on a large needle, is to stitch the hog to the spit. The main challenge of grilling a whole hog is that it's hollow, so you need to tie it very tightly to the spit so it will stay in place as the spit turns. I'll lift it up from this side.
Give it a little quarter turn.
What you want to do is stick in the needle and come out the other side. Pull the needle through the skin, and then you'll come in the other side. And Jeff's using a pair of pliers to pull the needle through on the other side. Pull it up tight, great. Next thing we want to do is fill the cavity with lemon halves. And then we're going to stitch the cavity shut. You can find these large trussing needles at any butcher supply house. And then, Jeff, you're going to tie the legs
Yeah, I'll secure
tightly to the body. The idea is to make the hog as compact and as cylindrical as possible. If you'll lift this up now, Jeff. All right, I'll put on the second set of prongs, and they just slide over. Line up the hole. Okay, then there is a bearing that goes on the end of the spit. Okay, so what you want to do now is put the hog in the rotisserie and rotate around here to line up the hole with the rotisserie motor. Insert the pin through the hole and tighten this up. At this point, brush the hog on all sides with extra virgin olive oil. And I did this once the hog was on the spit because it's a little hard to put the rub on while you're trying to wrestle the hog onto the spit. And then sprinkle with the remaining oregano rub. And what I'll do is just turn on the motor here, and I can continue brushing. The purpose of the olive oil is to help crisp the skin, and of course, the rub is going to reinforce that oregano flavor. With all this oregano aroma, I feel like I'm back in the Greek islands. Rake the coals a little thicker at the ham end and at the shoulder end, a little thinner in the middle. And for smoke flavor here, we can toss on a couple of logs. Cooking time for a 50-pound hog is going to be about 5 hours. After 1.5 hours, I'll start basting the hog. You don't want to baste while the skin is still raw. You want it to be colored. The basting will help give you a beautiful shine and an extra crisp consistency. Meanwhile, here's how they do rib roast down in Brazil. I first tasted this Brazilian spit-roasted rib roast at a churrascaria in Rio de Janeiro called Porcão. Churrascaria, that's the Brazilian word for a barbecue restaurant. The grilling is done almost exclusively on spits. And what they do is they bring these sword-like spits with meat on them through the dining room, carve them directly onto your plate. Is there anything more spectacular than a sizzling spit-roasted rib roast? How about a sizzling spit-roasted rib roast stuffed with carrots, sausage, and cheese? This is a 4-pound rib roast, and I've trimmed most of the fat. What we're going to do is make a series of tunnels in the rib roast and stuff them with the flavorings. So start with a long, slender boning knife. Insert it in one end of the rib roast and run it out the other side. Next, using the handle of a wooden spoon, insert it in the slit to widen the hole. Now, take a strip of carrot, cut off one end so it enters the meat more easily, and insert it in the tunnel. Next, make another hole in the rib roast. You can give a little twist here to widen the hole. Now take a strip of hard provolone cheese, and you might want to brush the cheese with oil. That will help it go in the meat more easily. And you just kind of have to ease it through. And if you have a shortfall, you can just cut another little piece of cheese and insert it in the tunnel. We'll make one more tunnel for the sausage. Today I'm using kielbasa. Cut the end off the kielbasa and brush it with a little oil to help it slide in the meat easily. The kielbasa is a little difficult to insert, so get it in as far as you can. And then what you may need to do is cut another piece and insert it from the other side. You know, there are many variations on a theme of stuffed rib roast. For example, if you wanted to make an Italian-style stuffed rib roast, you could use Romano cheese, strips of pepperoni, and black olives. So just trim up the ends. Breathe a big sigh of relief. The hard part is over. Take a piece of butcher string, and you want to bring it about 1 inch from the end. Then loop it over once, pull it tight, and with your fingers pointing towards you, loop one end of the string over your finger, tuck your finger under, and tuck the end through. This creates a little slip knot that you can pull tight and cut off. I've given it a nice compact cylindrical shape that will help it cook more evenly. One last preparation, we're going to make a simple rub. It starts with salt, pepper, garlic powder, ground cumin, oregano, and sweet paprika. Mix these ingredients together with your fingertips, breaking up any lumps that may be in the garlic powder. To rub the roast, place it in another baking pan and just sprinkle the rub mixture on all sides, rubbing it into the meat. Hey, that's why they call it a rub. Don't forget to rub the ends. So here's your Brazilian-style rib roast, ready for skewering. Got one more surprise. In Brazil, barbecue restaurants are called churrascarias, and there's a famous one in São Paulo called Ginho's. At Ginho's, they like to serve spit-roasted onions with grilled meats. So what I'm doing is with a skewer, making a little starter hole in the onion. This will make it easier to put on the spit. Now you put the whole shebang on the spit. So here's the rotisserie spit, first prong in place, and we'll take an onion and slide it onto the spit, as you see here. Then place another fork on your rotisserie, slide it all the way down, and now you can spit your beef. Last of all, the other onion. Now, at a Brazilian churrascaria, the onion and the beef would be cooked on separate spits. Okay, so I've set up the grill for traditional rotisserie grilling, lit the rotisserie burner. It's an infrared burner positioned on the back of the grill. And if you want to give the grill a little extra firepower, you can light the outside burners. You both spit roasting with a little touch of indirect grilling. Now, take your stuffed rib roast and insert the end of the spit. You're going to be sure that this round piece is in the slot, and place a couple of drip pans under the roast. Switch on the rotisserie motor and close the grill. Spit roasting time about an hour and a half. It's been an hour and a half, and check out that rib roast. It looks done, but to be sure, you want to use your trusty instant read meat thermometer. Insert it into the deepest part of the roast, but not touching the metal spit. You're looking for about 145 degrees, and that's about where we are. You want to grab your grill gloves and remove the spit from the motor. You can take it over to your cutting board. Okay, and you can slide the onion off. And then using a carving fork, just sort of pull the spit out of the roast. And last of all, slide the remaining onion off the spit. You want to remember to take the trussing strings off the roast, so just snip each a scissor and pull it off the roast. Now, you never want to cut into a roast the minute it comes off the grill. Let it sit for about 5 minutes and the meat will relax. It will be much more tender. So what you do is just slide it over to the side of the cutting board and tent it with foil to keep it warm. For the onions, what you want to do on the onions is cut them and I like to serve the onions right in the burnt skin. Just a drizzle of extra virgin olive oil and a sprinkling of coarse salt and black pepper. It's that simple. The meat has rested. Check it out. Now, carve. You want to start at the narrow end. The meat will be a little bit more well done at that end. And remember, when you've gone to this much trouble, the presentation counts. Cut one more piece for myself here. Oh man, that is incredible. The onion has this wonderful caramelized flavor, and the beef is crusty on the outside and succulent inside. So there you have it, Brazilian spit roasted rib roast, cooked to a turn. It's been about an hour and a half, and you want to start mopping the hog. You can see the hog is starting to take on some color. Now, the purpose of the mop sauce is threefold. First of all, the oil helps crisp the skin, the rub and the lemon juice help flavor the pig, and the mop sauce keeps the meat moist during roasting. I first tasted grilled lamb ribs in Marrakesh, Morocco. This dish is actually an amalgam of several different dishes. Most Moroccan grilled lamb is seasoned simply, salt, pepper, maybe some cumin. But there's also something called a Berber marinade, named for a tribe that lives in the Atlas Mountains. When it comes to ribs, most of us don't think of lamb, and we certainly don't think of the rotisserie. Not so in Morocco, where spit roasted lamb is a national obsession. Here's how we do it on Primal Grill, and it all starts with lamb ribs. Now, the lamb rib is actually cut from the lower part of the rib cage. Sometimes this is called a Denver cut. And the first step is to remove the brisket. That's this little flap of meat on the underside. And then the membrane. The technical name for this membrane is the pleura. So what you do is you locate it, and then using the point of an instant read meat thermometer, you just kind of lift it up and pry it loose in a couple of spots. Now, because this membrane's a little slippery, grab it with a paper towel and simply pull it off the back of the lamb ribs. It's not that the world will come to an end if you don't do this, but the membrane's a little tougher than the rest of the meat, and also it impedes the absorption of the spice and smoke flavors. In order to prepare the lamb for threading onto the spit, you want to make a slit with a paring knife once every 2 ribs. The marinade is called a Berber marinade. It starts with 1 onion, and then we'll add a few cloves of garlic, cut in half, fresh ginger, cut in sticks, freshly grated lemon zest, the oil-rich outer rind, and then sweet paprika, ground cardamom, which is a sweet spice, ground cinnamon, because in Moroccan cooking there's always a sweet element, ground coriander, salt, and freshly ground pepper. And what you'll do is puree these ingredients in a food processor. If you work in a processor, always process the dry ingredients first and then add your liquids. Freshly squeezed lemon juice and extra virgin olive oil. Now, take the Berber marinade, and what I like to do here is spread a little bit on the bottom of the baking dish. And then you can just sort of rub the ribs in the marinade. And spoon the remaining Berber spice paste on top. The Moroccan word for spit roasted lamb is meshwi. I've set up the grill for classic rotisserie grilling. Lit the rotisserie burner. Also, because it's a little chilly out tonight, I've lit the outside burners on this grill, so we're actually going to be working with rotisserie burner and indirect grilling. Then take a couple of drip pans. Notice I've removed the grill grate. That's to give your ribs enough clearance to rotate. Set a couple of drip pans on the fire. Let me show you how to put the ribs on the spit. Now, step number 1, remember to put the first set of prongs on the spit. Then grab the lamb, and the process, it's sort of a weaving process. Lock them in place with the forks, and then put on the second set of prongs, as you see here, and that'll hold the lamb ribs in place, keep them from spinning. Transfer the lamb ribs to the grill, then switch on the motor, and in order to keep the heat in, we'll close the grill. Cooking time here about 40 minutes. The lamb ribs should be done. And the way you check is look at the ends of the bones. When the lamb is cooked, the meat will shrink back about a ½ an inch. You can see the exposed ends of the bones. Protect your hands. Remember, the spit will be hot. And pull it out of the motor socket. And you have to take the rotisserie spit apart just like you put it together. And the easiest way to clean these prongs is to soak them in a bowl of soapy water. To serve the lamb, I like to cut it into 2 bone sections using a cleaver. A rib should be tender, but not fall off the bone tender. It should have a little chew to it. That's why God gave you teeth. And the sauce is called harissa. It's a fiery Moroccan pepper sauce. You'll find the recipe on the website. So, take a rib, squeeze a little lemon juice over it, a spoonful of harissa. That Berber spice paste is incredible. Here it is, our spit roasted pig in the style of the Greek islands. Let's see how we did. Nice.
Sweet.
Come on, everybody, dig in. Oh, man. Is there... Of course, we don't close the grill lid. Now, take the... Yeah.
Do you need the other forks, Stephen, first?
Ooh! He doesn't miss a beat, does he? bourbon brine pork chops, an intoxicating dimension of flavor. Turkey with Cajun injector sauce, a holiday bird you won't soon forget. And butterflied leg of lamb, the way they grill it in Korea. Brine, wine, and barbecue. I'm Stephen Reichlin, and from the beautiful Esplendor Resort in southern Arizona, it's time to grill. Brining and barbecue are like your first love. Once you experience it, you'll never forget it. Brining, or pickling as it was called in Shakespeare's day, is the process of curing foods in a salty liquid. It's also a great technique for keeping meats from drying out on the grill. On today's menu, bourbon brine pork chops, Cajun smoked turkey, and butterflied leg of lamb with Korean seasonings. I came up with the idea for bourbon brine pork chops to solve a simple problem. Most pork loin chops, when cooked on the grill, come out leathery and dry. So I thought if I brine the chops, they'll soak up that bourbon-flavored brine, and they'll be moister on the grill. Pork chops present a unique challenge to the grill master. The lean meat tends to dry out when exposed to the high heat of the grill. There's a simple solution, you guessed it. Brine the pork chops. These are beautiful center-cut, boneless pork chops. Each one weighs about 12 ounces. Step number 1, flavor the pork chops with the aromatics. Thinly sliced onion, cinnamon sticks, bay leaves, black peppercorns, and allspice berries and clove. And we'll do the same thing on top. The brine consists of equal parts salt,